what was being revealed to me was that there's a reason you need to know this. It is not for idle curiosity. It is to help you to understand your deep insecurities, traumas you've carried over into this lifetime that you need to resolve, or else you will continue repeating patterns. And so in that time of sharing with my friend about this past life experience that had come forth in my life as a young girl, I started to feel the presence of someone in my life. And it was...
When life throws a challenge at you, one thing is certain. To find a resolution for every issue, every problem, for everybody, there's more than one way. Over the summer, we've been talking a lot about spirit stories and have reached out to our wonderful listeners to share their experiences with us of times when they felt a really strong presence or a nudge or a knowing or some sort of mysterious, maybe it was hard to even put words to, experience with the sacred of some kind that really had an impact on them and changed their life. And so we've been excited to receive your feedback to us, and we have a guest with us today who's going to share some of her story, and we also have a story that was sent in that we will share a little later. So it's good to be back with you. We've got Shay Boswell with us again.
Hi.
Shay, great to have you.
Good to be here.
And we have Maria Hasekamp, who we're so glad to have with us. Maria is a friend of the podcast who we had the opportunity to work with for a little while, which was really great. And Shay, you've known Maria for a while, right?
I have. I've known her sister for a very long time, and so also have known Maria.
Yes.
Looking forward to talking.
Yeah, and your name just came to mind when we were thinking about people that we know have that sensitivity to those things around them. Mm-hmm. And so we were glad that you were open to coming and sharing with us. It's not always easy to do. So we're glad that you're here and are excited to hear about your story today.
Great. I'm glad to be here. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So as you think about kind of spirit stories, we've talked some in preparation for this about your experiences, and there was kind of a season of your life that we talked about a little bit where you were, you had a drawing toward Hawaii. And I was wondering if you could share with us a little bit about that, kind of how that came to be, and just what you learned from that and how that has shaped your experience.
Absolutely. So about the year of 2015, I was randomly watching a documentary on Netflix about surfing. Mm-hmm. And suddenly my entire soul was like, I need to do this. I need to go surf. I need to be part of the ocean. It just called me deeply. Okay. And I did some research on good surf spots around the world, around the nation, and Hawaii was like, it hit the mark. Uh-huh. So I knew I needed to go there. My soul felt extremely drawn to Hawaii and the water, and wanting to explore the depths of the ocean, as at that point in my life, I was wanting to go deeper into my spiritual experience on Earth, just who we are and what we're doing here.
And you were living in St. Louis?
In St. Louis at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I had, a full-time job working in a collection agency in the administrative department, and my husband at the time had a good job. We were both, we owned a house. Mm-hmm. So this idea to him sounded a little crazy. Mm-hmm. But I told him, his name is Joe. I said, you don't understand. I feel the depths of a calling to go to Hawaii. So over the course of a few years, I had saved some money, and we took a 2-week trip there because I thought he's got to see it at least. We need to know what it's like. And when he was there, he's like, yeah, I don't want to leave. This could be a possibility that we move. But we came back, and over time, it just seemed like a pipe dream again. And he was like, that's crazy. We're not going to move to Hawaii. Yeah. However, my soul continued to feel extremely called there, and I trusted it, and I followed a divine inner calling to begin to prepare for that move, not knowing if and when or how it would ever happen. So I began to start eliminating everything in my home. I narrowed my home down to the bare minimum. And my husband was like, well, whatever. He didn't really care. He just kind of let me do whatever I was doing. And in 2019, unexpectedly, his identical twin brother passed away. And he was like, we need to go to Hawaii. I'm ready to do this. And I thought, well, God, you knew what was coming, and I could not have seen that, because I felt the divine continuing to assure me, like, this is going to happen. Just continue preparing. And I had to trust on faith alone that this was what we were to do one day. So after his twin passed, I had literally one conversation with someone about the sale of my home, and it was sold. And within like 2 or 3 months, we were packed and on our way across the world.
Oh my goodness.
The red carpet just kind of rolled out when the time came, because the preparations leading up to that were just made it very graceful. And we got out there, and I started working in a coffee shop, and realized that what I thought I was going there for was not what I thought. Well, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I was like, the ocean isn't what I thought, or it's not that it wasn't what I thought. It was that wasn't the reason I was called there. I felt the divine speaking to my soul, saying, we are going to take you to a different type of depth here. We are going to show you the depths of your soul, and we're going to reveal to you things about life and about yourself, and give you an understanding on the very hard experiences you had growing up. So I made a friend there, and we started talking about past lives. And I shared an experience with her I'd had as a little girl, where it was overwhelming at the age of 9 who I was specifically in my previous lifetime. And I really, throughout my life, I didn't obsess about it, but there were parallels in my life that I experienced, and synchronicities and experiences that I was having that were mirroring and paralleling the lifetime that person had lived. And what was being revealed to me was that there's a reason you need to know this. It is not for idle curiosity. It is to help you to understand your deep insecurities, traumas you've carried over into this lifetime that you need to resolve, or else you will continue repeating patterns. I needed to break the cycles of trauma. And so in that time of sharing with my friend about this past life experience that had come forth in my life as a young girl, I started to feel the presence of someone in my life. And it was a spirit presence. It wasn't surrounding me. It was something that came from inside my soul.
Okay.
I started to have experiences that just didn't seem of this world. Did you have a question?
I have a question. So
Sure.
did the conversation that you had with this person in Hawaii trigger
Yes.
Okay.
I believe it did.
Okay.
I think that we were brought together, she and I. That was the beginning of the journey, was the opening up with her
Okay.
about that, because that wasn't something I had opened up to too many people about. It's just something you have to
Sure.
protect,
Sure.
or else you can, people shove it off, or you sound crazy or whatever. So that, I do believe, is what triggered it.
Okay.
And I began to have experiences that just were not of what you would perceive to be the natural world. There was a time we were working in the coffee shop, and we were sharing story about past life experiences, and the air literally filled in the room, and it was a white iridescent smoke. I mean, you could wave it, and it came from nowhere, and it almost gleamed and sparkled. And she's like, Maria, I'm not someone who cries. Tears were instantly coming to her eyes, and we just felt it was affirmation from the divine saying, continue to move forward. This is a process we need you to explore.
Okay.
That was one of the beginnings of the experiences that I had. Again, the presence was coming to me. I could it's almost like you can feel it around you, but it is coming from the inside out, because I do believe the kingdom of heaven is within. So and I didn't feel like a ghost presence or anything like that.
Okay.
And over time, in having also very lucid dreams with this person that I had shared a past life experience with before, because I knew that the presence who came to me was someone that I had been with in the previous lifetime. We started to be able to communicate internally. Like, I could communicate with this presence as though I'm having a conversation with the both of you. And that was not easy to accept. It wasn't easy to accept that these things were happening. It took me.
That was a question I had. I mean,
Yes.
with those kinds of experiences, how did you trust that? Especially even as a young child.
Yes.
Or just through your experiences, how did you come to trust that it was?
As a young child, I I must have had, I feel like I had divine help to take it in and receive it as truth. I feel like I was supported with that. So I didn't feel like I carried it as a burden. I just had an inner knowing that felt effortless.
Okay.
But as I started to have these more tangible experiences, that's when it was very difficult, because it breaks down these walls of ego that, make us believe that everything we are experiencing here is very material and three-dimensional, and our life is very linear. We live, we die,
Right.
and that there aren't the potentiality for all these multi-dimensional things that could enter into life. And so it took me many years, even with communicating with him and having other experiences like the white smoke, things as amazing and as real as that, it took me still years to really fully let it come into me and believe it without any questioning. Because it's something I didn't want to just, you have to test the spirits. I think that's wisdom. I didn't want to just believe something, and I wanted to do my mental checks. Like, could this be me trying to cope with the loss of someone close to me, or a way that I'm trying to understand my life? So I'm creating, I really did go through that process, and it came to a point where I felt this divine communication that was like, enough, like, you have to accept this in order to move forward with it. We can't continue helping you to understand more if you cannot receive and accept what we're giving you right now. So there came a point when I fully took it in, and from that point forward, experiences got even more real.
Okay.
And I can share a few of those.
Yes.
So prior to going to Hawaii, I was dealing with a lot of high blood pressure and cholesterol problems, and I was very overweight, and I could feel my heart failing. I could just feel it struggling. I could feel my body really struggling. And I didn't tell many people about it, but when I got to Hawaii, I was working at a natural food store, and this was after I call him my companion, the spirit presence that entered into my life. I was cashiering at the time, and I physically felt a hand reach into my back, and 5 fingers surrounded my heart, and it squeezed my heart, and I felt shocks go down my left arm, and I started breathing and panicking, and I heard my companion say, "Calm down, it's going to be okay, breathe, this is good." So I listened to him because he was very comforting. He would walk me through very difficult experiences like that. And then the next time I went to the doctor, all high blood pressure was gone. Cholesterol was back to normal. Like, I started to progressively lose weight, and my health just was completely restored. And to touch on this experience with him, there's always a reason we go through experiences, and the main reason he has shared we are coming back together in this way is that there was a lot of healing work that we needed to do together, because apparently in our previous lifetime and other experiences and lifetimes we've had, it was very traumatic. And he's like, we need to do some healing work together. There needs to be forgiveness. We need to talk. I'm going to help you heal through traumas that you are not understanding that you even have. Basically, addiction was something I suffered with for many, many years. I would binge drink. I was, overeating. I just didn't know how to cope with my own insecurities.
Sure.
I didn't even know really what they were. And he revealed to me that one day I was sitting there and I was shoveling food in, and he was like, slow down. He's like, I want to let you know that, the issue with food that you talk about and addiction is what you're doing is trying to cope with trauma you don't understand. So to me, that helped me to understand addiction, like, plainly. I was like, okay, that makes sense. I'm not just obsessed with food or whatever it is,
It's bigger.
But so, yeah, throughout the course of the last 4 years, he and I have been walking very closely together. Him in the spirit world, obviously, and me in this physical world, so to speak. And we've just been continuing to do a lot of healing work together. And ultimately, the goal was to lead me to living my whole truth here, what some would call your soul purpose. And we can't really do that without digging out traumas and things that we're carrying in our soul. You can't, love your neighbor as yourself, but if we're not loving ourselves and we don't understand ourselves, it's much harder to love someone else effectively.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's a lot of what he and I do together to this day.
Wow.
Is continue to learn about life and healing and all sorts of good stuff.
So are there, just to take a pause for a second. Cool story.
Yes.
Yeah.
So are there more parts of the experience, like just thinking about your experience that you had in Hawaii where you were becoming aware of him? Is there more that you want to share, or is there any more kind of signs where, because you're talking
that
about
validated.
talking,
Yes.
maybe because you talked about this. Okay.
Actually, ironically, well, maybe it's not ironic, I was working here and it was an evening shift. I think there was evensong going on, and my companion, I was struggling with things, and I was like, look, I need a sign, I need something, because it's just hard to maintain this and hold firm that this is like real and that I'm not making this up, even after years of experiences and healing work. And he said, okay, sounds random, but he said, after you get off work, he said, go into Gus's Fried Chicken, the restaurant. He said, I have something there for you.
You're
and I
kidding
said,
me.
no.
That's pretty specific.
So then,
Wow.
within about an hour, in completely separate and isolated from each other, my partner and my mom text me and asked me for food from Gus's. Okay. So I thought, great, this is a perfect reason to go in there. Although I was going to go by faith.
Okay.
So I walked in and I'm standing there, and it's the hustle bustle of the restaurant, and it's evening time, it's busy, and I'm just stressed out about what I'm experiencing, because it's hard to believe that this is going on. So it was a stressful time before I really embraced it.
Okay.
And I was like, what am I doing here? Like, I'm losing my mind. And I walk up to the counter, and a man who I'd never met before approaches me, and he says, I have something for you. And I said, okay. He said, I want you to know that it will be there. And I said, okay. And he said, and everything is coming. And I said, all right. And
had he taken your order yet?
no.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Wow.
Okay, just started.
And
with
he
that.
said, I want to tell you, I've had a near-death experience, and I've crossed over, and I've touched the other side, and I came back with the ability to communicate. And I have the ability, souls will enter my body, and they will communicate at different times. And so these messages, I mean, it came out of nowhere. I'd never met this man. He doesn't know me, my story, or anything. But these messages that he gave me were very specific to things I've spoken to my companion about. I want to witness, I want to him to be here in the physical world at some point. I want us to unite physically, in some time, be able to meet in that way.
Yeah.
So these messages were just very specific to my experience. And that was, after that, I almost didn't question it much anymore.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Because I can't plan that, it was just, and then also him visiting a friend in a dream in Hawaii, and validating his presence to me through someone else who has never met him or seen him before.
So your companion visited someone else in a dream that you had an interaction with? Or?
Yeah, correct. Someone I worked with in the natural food store had approached me one day and said, Maria, I had a dream. It wasn't a dream, but it was a dream. And a man and you had come together and you were interacting, and he gave you a gift, and it was very real. I don't know who the man is, but I know it was you. And she said, did you have this dream? Because this was something different, And I said, no, but as you're telling me this, I feel it so deeply in my soul. It was like I felt like I'd been there, And in having dream-like experiences with my companion, I have come to find that dreams are much more than what we can generally perceive them to be. They're not just these image projections of our subconscious. Sometimes I do believe thoughts, we can brush them aside. It may not be something we need to dig deeper into. But I think in the dreams and experiences that feel so real, our soul is actually traveling. We are actually entering other states of consciousness, but she had approached him he had approached me in her dream. And then within about a month of that dream, I came to her and I said, would you like us to see a picture of the man? Because I had then explained to her that I had had a companion presence and that I was working through this whole experience and believing it. I said, would you like to see a picture of the man that I believe is with me. And she said, yes. And I showed her a picture and she said, that is the man that was in my dream. I said, do you know who that is? And she said, I have no idea.
Wow.
So, the divine then I felt revealed through my soul, like we needed you to have that experience. We needed it to come through someone else. So you knew you weren't creating it in your own mind. Because if it had been a dream that I had, I would have easily been able to been like, well, that was a dream. That doesn't prove anything, so faith is important.
Sure.
And it is not easy when we are called to take it to higher levels.
That's true.
So
we've talked about how these spirit stories do make a shift. It can be transformational for a person. So you said you're still working through, but could you can you articulate what the transformation has been for you for this experience?
Absolutely.
This ongoing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It has really helped me to understand our earth experience. I feel as though through this experience, I've learned that earth is a school. We are here to learn. We are here to awaken to our Christ self. And oftentimes that comes through trial and tribulation and hard circumstances. It doesn't have to, but I find that the ego it fights spirit growth and soul growth. So we can be pushed into greater understanding of ourselves. So it has just helped me to awaken and to really understand my walk here, and that each of us really does have a purpose here. A purpose that, we're all created with these unique and beautiful gifts. I feel like we all reflect the same source, the divine source, God, the universe, however you'd like to articulate that. We are all one and all connected to that, and we are all unique reflections and meant to demonstrate that beautiful reflection of God. But that takes, again, inner work and a willingness to humble ourselves to a great level and to bring ourselves face down before God and say, who am I? And show me. And leading up to my companion entering into my life in Hawaii, we were in the thick of the pandemic at that point. So we were spending even a lot of time at home in Hawaii. I read the Bible start to finish, and I felt that was a catalyst for God just opening up my consciousness and readying me for this experience. It was another catalyst. Because through that reading, I didn't read it from an intellectual standpoint. I wasn't trying to figure it out. I really read it from a state of humility and felt the divine really showing me these multidimensional aspects of the Bible. It's all there. We are experiencing so much more. And if we really read and study, the Bible or whatever religious text you're called to with an open and humble heart, the divine will reveal things about ourselves and about our experience here that you can't get from a intellectual, forceful, wanting to know, we really do have to be seeking and learning. So it transformed my understanding of myself, and I've healed so many traumas and insecurities and fears, and I'm still on that journey, it's just ongoing. But it unloaded a lot, which ultimately led to my soul purpose, which has been recently refined.
Okay.
Tell us more. Yes. So what has been revealed to me about my soul purpose is working with those who have experienced, very deep amounts of suffering in their life, and really helping them begin a process of inner healing, and seeing the importance of that self-reflection and introspection, and really going within, not victimizing ourselves no matter what has happened to us, accepting ourselves where we're at in life, and then trying to build from the inside out. So I've been volunteering at the local shelter here and leading support groups for women who have experienced just darkness beyond unimaginable darkness, and just helping guide consciousness to a brighter place, but also helping them empower themselves and de-victimize themselves, so they can begin that inner work. And
I'm thinking about when you were talking about how your soul was calling you to the waves of Hawaii.
Yes.
Yeah.
and it doesn't sound like you became a surfer.
Nope.
But thinking about what you're doing now and writing with people in their trauma, I mean, that's quite a wave.
Yes,
You know,
that is exactly right. God's
Yeah.
like, you are going to be surfing other waves. You are going to be learning how to get on top of your own emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
So you are not continuously being taken down by, life, and when you don't need to be. Wisdom and understanding, I would say, were the two things that I felt the Bible made so clear that is so important for us to pray for. Because when we really understand life, and through divine revelation, we are, things are revealed to us about ourselves and about this experience here on earth, it begins to bring freedom. You don't feel like a victim ever. You feel like everything has its place. Every experience we encounter has a purpose to teach us. You begin to claim dominion over the experience. And ultimately, I think Jesus, being this wonderful ascended master, I mean, he just was there. He's like, I've got dominion beyond. I will walk on the water. I will calm the storm. I will raise the dead. And ultimately, he showed us the way. So it's just important to take up his cup, to follow in his footsteps. To me, it begins from within. It begins from within ourselves, doing the inner work. I believe he said the kingdom of heaven is within you. It's not going to be reaching out for our pleasures and our joys and our, it's going to be going in and really seeking for greater understanding.
Truth.
Yeah.
Maria, what a powerful story. And just thank you for being vulnerable with us and sharing your personal, intimate experiences of what you're going through, and you're talking about life being a school. I've learned something today for sure. So thank you for being here and being a part of that. I have another story that was sent in from a listener that I thought I would share. They've given us permission to read that on the air, and I thought we could talk about it a little bit. Is that cool?
Yes.
All right. So it starts out as it says, I saw your reel on Instagram and I have a story to share. A few weeks ago, I had a colleague that I found very difficult to work with. It was a temporary work situation and I really didn't know the person well, but I still harbored negative feelings about them. One day I had a particularly difficult time and found myself sitting outside the building I was working at in tears. Suddenly, the same colleague I was frustrated with came out of the building and saw that I was upset. They took the time out of their day to sit with me and to talk with me about what had happened and how I was feeling and offered their comfort. They also shared with me about what they were struggling with at this job, and it turned out that we felt very similarly about the things we were dealing with. The reason why their behavior was so frustrating was because they were just as unhappy as I was about a situation, and they struggled to be present at work because of it. Realizing this caused me to be much more emphatic toward the person, because at the end of the day, we were both trying to do our best in a less than optimal situation. I felt that I'd left feeling that situation that I had received a very clear message from God that I had been too quick to judge this person harshly because I really didn't even know them. He used a moment where I needed a friend and had that colleague show up and be kind to me. It felt so on the nose that I can't believe it was anything but God trying to show me how to live more like the Bible teaches us.
Oops. Lovely.
That's a great story.
So thank you for sharing that. And just how incredible when God uses something that we think may be the source of our problem to be something that helps us work through it.
Absolutely.
I think it's, I love the way that person shared about just that they had no doubt that was from God because of how it played out.
Right. And as we were talking about before, of doing the pre-work.
Yes.
This person must have done the work ahead of time to be prepared for that and to see it as that way, as opposed to a coincidence or as opposed to
It could have been easy just to say, I'm not talking to that person.
Right, exactly.
Right. I don't want that to be the person.
Right. They were open to to engaging with that person. Could have had their ego so in the way that they would have resisted or pushed them away, or like you said, walked away or something. So good job, person.
Yeah. I think it's, I really like that story because it's just a day-to-day story. It's something that we go through, and it makes me think about whether a story is harder to believe or accept, or something that's right along in line with what we might expect. They're all around us, and I think it's like you said, it's that ability of being open, to see the significance in all of those, with the idea that the opportunity for us to change and be changed
right
through those.
Sure.
Absolutely.
So we thank you guys for being with us as always, and we would love to hear your story.
Please.
If you have one that you would like to share, please reach out to us. You can do that by emailing us. You can reach out to us on social media as well, and we would love to hear about your experiences. We feel like as we share those together, it brings us all together, and it also opens our awareness up. So in that spirit of more than one way, we're open to hearing what your way is, and we hope you'll share with us.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the More Than One Way podcast, brought to you by the Center for Spiritual Practice in Knoxville, Tennessee. We really appreciate your time and would love to hear your feedback. You can reach us by emailing hello@morethanonewaypod.com, or you can connect with us on social media using the handle @morethanonewaypod. If you found this episode helpful, we hope that you'll share it with your friends, with your family, with people you work with all the people who you know. Thank you, and take care.